Los Angeles, I'm in most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, April 25th. LA Galaxy getting ready for their breakfast battle with Austin FC coming up on Saturday, an early game, 10:45 a.m. over here on the left coast. We're going to get you ready for that game, talk about all the LA Galaxy news that has surfaced in between, give you injury updates, maybe hear a little bit from Greg Vanney from his media availability from today, actually yesterday, because the Galaxy traveled today on Thursday for that Saturday game. So a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. In order to help us out, we are glad she is back here in the United States of America. Everybody welcome Miss Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou. Soph, how you doing?
I'm not going to lie, Josh. I am lag-jetted.
Lag-jetted? Is that what happens when jet lagging goes way sideways?
Oh, yeah. I'm at the loopy stage.
Oh, good. That's
so it'll be fun for tonight.
As Eric would say, that's good pod. That's good pod. So, glad to have you back. I'm exhausted too. So as far as I'm concerned, we could wrap this up in 5 minutes and 30 minutes and 45, whenever we hit that end. I'm a happy camper today as well. So, glad to have you back. The LA Galaxy have been doing things. I know, even though you're super tired, a little loopy, still riding the high from 5-0 in Arsenal there. So I know you're feeling good about it, right?
I've been very busy since that game, and it was glorious because we have been on the end of some beatings from Chelsea over the years, and that was so satisfying. And I actually had, maybe some of the listeners listen to TalkSport, but Jason Cundy, who does the Sports Bar, is a massive Chelsea fan. And I had booked him to come on the show the next day.
He was feeling good about that. He was like, yeah, sure, I'll come on there, no problem. Yes.
But he did show up.
Okay, good.
But he wore a Chelsea shirt, and it was fun. It was good times. But then City go and win 4-0 today, so bugger that.
Well, hey, you can't have. Remember, Arsenal can't have nice things yet. You haven't quite graduated to having nice things. You're close. I feel like the nice things. You're on the precipice of nice things.
Is that like this LA Galaxy team then?
I feel.
Are we ready for nice things?
I don't know yet. Not after last game. Last game proved they weren't ready for nice things, right? You were ready to shut that game down early, right? I mean, Arsenal got to shut down the game early. This is what I've been preaching for the LA Galaxy, Sophie, is if you want to be a team that can win a whole bunch of games in a bunch of different competitions, one, you have to have the depth to be able to do it as an MLS team, which is extremely difficult, much easier in the EPL. But you also have to shut down games when you get a chance to. And when you're up 3-0, that game should be over. And as a matter of fact, the San Jose bus drivers should have started backing the buses, towards the field and been like, you guys want to get out of here at halftime? It's probably a good idea. They haven't crushed anybody's spirit yet, Sophie. They say they want to be killers. And I like the wins. I like the points and all that stuff. But if they want to be killers, they want to embarrass people. They want to be ruthless with the way that they play. Then they have to take advantage of a 3-0 game. Red card regardless. The red card comes into it at 4-3, not at 3-0. So
I actually thought I'm going to be honest, because I was so jet lagged. At 3-0, I was like, I could take a nap. I can take a nap because I wasn't going to do the presser.
Right.
And I popped into the garden and then came back, and I was like, hold on a second, what's going on here? So, the nap had to wait. And, it was that naivety still is there, isn't it? A little bit, but not in attack, in defense. So when you tweeted earlier and you said, let's talk about what the Galaxy still needs.
Right.
And I was going to put defense, show over, thank you, see you next week.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've got some comments about, if I could just tell you real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Have LA Galaxy really upgraded the goalkeeper position?
Yes. I would say yes. Now, there's some caveats in that. I will say what you're seeing from McCarthy is the ability to make the big save, and the big save consistently. Even in the San Jose
distribution
game,
is
it's not
awful.
not good. But Bond's distribution wasn't good. So like it's like you're asking me, did the Galaxy get better? Right? That's what the Galaxy are asking themselves. Did we get better? I think they're going to think they got better. Is it perfect? It's not perfect yet, but also, perhaps the Galaxy should stop just allowing stupid, silly goals, because I don't know that I can put any of the goals. Let's see, they scored 3 goals on John McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Don't think I can put any of them on him, right? It's one of those. And he came up with some big saves in that game too. So I think he makes the big saves.
I think that's fair. I think that I've seen him make at the early part of the season. I was like, wow, he's really great. Mm-hmm. But the way Vanney wants to play,
right,
his distribution is awful. It was awful in that game. And yeah, he's a good shot stopper. But as the season goes,
right,
I think this could be an Achilles heel if they're not careful.
It's interesting. Let me just say, MLS was sort of having a conversation today. If you listen to any of the shows and all the talking heads, and we're talking heads as well, so that's not a disrespectful thing to say. But all the talking heads, they're talking about whether or not the Galaxy will run away with this West. Right? Are there enough good teams in the Western Conference to keep the Galaxy close right now? Because with a prolific offense, you're sort of sitting there going, "Wow, this offense is just going to run away from people." And as it stands right now, if the Galaxy continue winning games, I'm not going to, I don't have to be a genius. Keep winning games, you're going to keep getting more points, and you're going to separate yourselves from people. So the answer was, come October, who is challenging the LA Galaxy? And the argument sort of got to the LA Galaxy, with the West being as soft as it is, isn't really that giant team that you have to worry about yet, because they haven't figured out the defensive side of things. Right. And I think for you saying, hey, the distribution has to be better if they want to play the way that Greg Vanney, I agree. I mean, first 30 minutes of the game against San Jose, and we talked about this on Monday, outstanding. Absolutely the top peak. And, like we said, winning 3-0, you're like, they're going to run away with this. They may score 6 or 7 goals in this game. It was really interesting to hear Greg Vanney today talk as well, because he was sort of trying to preach that maturity in this. It's like, you guys are winning 3-0. Be smarter with the ball. Be smarter with your plays. Don't get stretched out. Don't allow teams hope. It's the hope that kills you.
Exactly.
A lot of ways for the LA Galaxy, it is the hope that kills them. They're letting teams have hope by scoring quick goals whenever they go and score a goal, that type of thing.
Yeah. Did he make I'm not going to say make a mistake, but the back line, do you think that he took too much of a risk at the back?
With what? With moving Cáceres out because of the...
Yes.
So that was precautionary for Cáceres. They actually were looking at an MRI, and so they looked at an MRI again. He came back negative and everything was fine, but apparently Cáceres said I needed to come out. With no other cover back there, that was probably all that they had in that particular case. So I don't know that you could really sit there and say, oh, no, that was a horrible... You had to bring somebody in if Cáceres says he can't go anymore, and Eric Zavaleta, who has come in and been pretty good for the Galaxy in spots where they've asked him to play, step behind, poor decisions, everything. I said the good news... We started talking about this before we got on the show, and I said the good news is he's not going to play next weekend because he has the red card and he'll be suspended. So he'll get to think about all the things that he did there, because it's just a massively stupid mistake in a game that you don't need to worry about. Even if he scores from there, it's 4-3, but then you're still up with 11 guys, and I imagine the Galaxy score 1 or even 2 more goals in that situation.
Yeah. I read, I think Alex was talking about, was it Cirillo as a Swiss Army knife?
Cirillo can really sort of fill in everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, he can, but did he fill in? I think he needs to be a little bit careful that it's all good being a Swiss Army knife, but you can also become the jack of all trades and the master of none.
Yeah, I mean, he was sort of talking about that afterwards. He was talking under Lucci. That he played for Lucci, who was coaching for San Jose, right? But he played for Lucci as sort of an outside right winger, so he's used to that in that situation. But putting him in the defensive spot, Vanney talked about that as well, with Cuevas being out sick the day before and not training. Again, they were sort of like, who do we put there? And they're like, all right, I guess we'll put Surya. Surya got beat on 2 goals.
That's what I was alluding to, in addition to the point that you made about Caceres and stuff. But that, to me, I thought, I'm not sure if that worked.
Yeah, I mean,
well.
You could probably flip Nelson on the other side. John Nelson, for me, is just like one of those MLS veteran, defenders. Just throw him in there. I don't care that, give him a shot.
He's like the
there.
Adam Gordon of defense.
I will trust you. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just one of those weird things that you look at and say, okay, what can you do? And then I'm always of the opinion, I don't know about you, but whenever you're looking at teams, if I'm a coach or I'm looking at how I'm going to replace somebody if there's an injury with Miki Imane out, injury update, Miki Imane back to full training, should be available for Austin. Don't anticipate any changes on that. That was from Greg Vanney on Wednesday. Martin Caceres, all clear on the MRI. They're just looking at, he has some pain there and they don't know why, and so they don't know if it's nerves or something else, but the MRI came back clean, so realistically, he could be available. Jalen Neal back to full training, played 45 minutes for VCFC, the Galaxy's, the former G2 there, and he came out of it and said, I felt like I could have played 90 minutes. So I think Jalen Neal possibly could be in the question marks coming up against Austin. If Caceres can't go, it's probably going to have to be Neal, or they're going to do something else, which will be really interesting. I don't know that I'd throw Neal right back into it after being that gone. He's gone how many months? 8 months, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing him more taking the elevator with us down to the press room than we have on the pitch. But I'm digging the new hair.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
not yours.
I'm like, I don't have any new hair. I have old hair and it's falling out. The whole deal. No, Jalen. Every time like the young kids get like a different haircut and stuff like that, it just throws me for a loop. I'm always like, wait, what did you look like before? I can never. I'm one of those, if my wife gets a haircut and she doesn't tell me, I would never notice, have no idea.
Dear.
So I'm in trouble all the time. Yeah, I know. It's bad.
Yeah,
Thank God
bad.
she puts it in the date book that she's going to get a haircut. I know I'm good to go.
Right.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
Good lad.
Aaron, by the way, $5 super chat to start it off. He goes, I want to hear Sophie attempt 5 different accents. Southern Jamaican. Can you combine them all? Southern Jamaican, Japanese, Valley Girl, and Josh. And Josh, what kind of accent do I have, Aaron? No, Aaron, you get none of those. That's exactly what you have. I don't have an accent.
Maybe if I warm up towards the end of the show, I will give that a valiant effort, y'all.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a prelude. Come on.
Have you seen the TikTok trend where they do Shakespeare in Southern accent? Have you seen?
I have not.
It's interesting. It's a nice little take on everything. I guess I wouldn't.
Shakespeare Southern accent.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Think about it. It's an interesting one, and when you see it, you're like, I don't know. It is.
Have you tried it?
Nope. Nope, absolutely not. Let's get to some other news as we continue on here. I just wanted to get it updated because we forgot about it on Monday night when Alex and I were having some good discussions there, so check it out. We have wonderful Gabriel Peck making the team of the match day. Joseph Paintsel made the bench on there. I would have also accepted Ricky Puig on there or Gaston Brugman. No problem with that. No problem with either of those. So the Galaxy did have some good players, even though it wasn't a great game. Gaston Brugman, for his ability to come back and play at center back for a long time. In fact, Greg Vanney was getting ready to make a change, and then Brugman slotted back there, and it worked out really well that he ended up setting Nelson down because Nelson was going to come on and sort of play in that defensive role and ended up not doing that. So it was interesting to see that. But Gabriel Peck, I think, had one of his best games as an LA Galaxy player. I think we've sort of talked about that, Sophie, just how good we really liked him. And I think Alex and I were talking, a lot of times Vanney has sort of stacked Paintsel and Peck together because they both could like to play on the right side. This was the first time we saw Peck really assert himself on the left-hand side, leaving Joseph Paintsel to the right-hand side, his more preferred side, and not having them stacked together and being able to spread the field. And I thought it was electric and dangerous, and we'll see if that continues against Austin. But I thought that was
It's organized chaos, and it's brilliant to watch. That, it kind of reminds me of, I know some people in the chat love or hate it when I talk about Arsenal, but it reminds me of Saka and Martinelli, and when I talk to like Stevie Nicol, whenever we play of ESPN FC, when we play Liverpool, his biggest fear is always Saka and Martinelli and the chaos that they cause on the flanks. Now, they don't overlap. They're very stuck in their positions. Rarely do you see them, kind of switching.
Right.
But I love the chaos that it causes defenses, and they've been so impressive. I mean, this is the two missing pieces, and I have to say, so far these two signings, absolutely brilliant signings.
Right.
And Peck has that Paintsel has an X factor, Josh.
Yes.
But Peck has maybe this uber technical X factor where individual brilliance is something that might be in his arsenal, forgive the pun,
yes,
as the season goes.
Well,
I think he's a really special player.
And as his career goes, I think the ceiling is really there for Gabriel Peck. The whole thing about Joseph Paintsel, he's a developed player, right? He's in his prime. He's there where he's supposed to be. His ceiling is going to be very much like maybe a little bit higher than where he's at right now, but it's not going to be, tons higher. For Peck, I see something that it's like he could be Joseph Paintsel plus if he can really figure it out. He's very one-sided. I'd like to see him be a little bit less left-footed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a problem, though, with his technical ability. He can create space. San Jose had a ton of problems trying to keep him in the positions that he was. I loved there was an interchange on one play specifically where Joseph Paintsel made a diagonal run all the way across the field in order to end up on the same side as Peck, and they ended up finding each other and ended up in the set piece. It was the penalty kick. That's what resulted in that, was because Paintsel came all the way across. Peck saw him. Peck delayed and waited for him to get to where he needed him to be, and then made that pass. And Paintsel ended up getting fouled, and that ended up with the chicken wing and the penalty kick.
His speed is insane.
Yeah,
it's like meet.
Yeah,
Roadrunner. He's
Paintsel, Peck. They're both so fast. But Paintsel does it in a way that is sneaky, and it's like, oh, you think you have him? Nope, you didn't have him. You didn't even come close to having him. It was funny that you thought you had him for one or two steps. Defenders always think they can stay with Joseph Paintsel, and then they're like, nope. And he's so smart technically to be in the places that he usually is. I'm a really big fan of Joseph Paintsel, and I think that him being next to somebody like Peck, and Peck developing with somebody who's on the opposite like that, can be really beneficial too. And then
exactly.
Positionally,
they're really both very smart. But the thing about the speed as well is the first 5 yards. That's what's going to give them an edge.
Right.
And after that first 5 yards, they're just so quick off the mark, both here and with their legs. So it's so joy to watch.
No, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's so much fun to watch. I always make this comment, and I don't know if people understand it, but there's a difference between quickness and speed and being fast, right? You can be quick, and when you have quickness and speed, that's when you talk about like the first 5 yards. It's not just going from, you're jogging to a sprint, but it's going from jogging to a sprint in like 2 steps. And being able to do that faster than anybody else, that really sort of separates you, because top end speed then is you're already by them. You already have 2-3 steps on somebody. That's it. You get the top end speed. You can run away from them if you need to, but you also have time because you created yourself a huge gap. So I'm really excited to see that. Other LA Galaxy news I want to get to before we get too far away from everything. The MLS Disciplinary Committee has fined the LA Galaxy for violating the mass confrontation policy in the 70th minute of Sunday's game. Cuevas, Aude, Brugman, and Peck have all been fined individually for their roles in the mass confrontation, and Eric Zavaleta has been fined for failing to leave the field in a timely manner. There were some LA Galaxy fans, Sophie, who were arguing about this, but those were all 100% earned. No problems with that. You guys shouldn't argue. That was exactly what it was. Mass confrontation. Those 4 were absolutely in the wrong, and Eric Zavaleta did take a long time to get off the field. Perfect, got it all. And by the way, I knew watching that play when it was happening, I'm like, those are all fines. You can just tell. Zavaleta's definitely getting fined for not getting off the field fast. I think he was being like, go to VAR and you'll see. I didn't do anything. And then I'm like, you don't want to see that replay, Eric. How
many fines have there been across the league with this new rule?
Like,
have there been?
It's a lot. I mean, we get them every year with whenever they really started the mass confrontation thing, maybe 2-3 years ago. It is. There are definitely some repeat defenders. or offenders, I should say, repeat offenders. And the biggest one is LAFC by far. It's not even close. Like every time I go and look at the disciplinary committee, it's like mass confrontation. Matt, you're like, yeah, I know. It's the same thing as always. So absolutely 100%. Let's get to some other super chats here. $5 super chat from Metalhead. Garces and Neal coming in gives us bigger depth in defense. Also, I'd take McCarthy over Bond any day. No Yamane also hurt us on the left. I think Yamane not being there on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side was a big reason why the Galaxy were not as good defensively as they normally are. And if you look at the 2 goals that they gave up with Cerrillo in that, I think Yamane probably does a better job of covering that space.
Yeah, he felt exposed, a little bit too exposed.
I think so. I think Cerrillo was exposed there. He's a tiny guy. He's not gigantic. I mean, Cerrillo's, like he's maybe a little taller than you, Soph. Like he's not. By the way, great kid, love him. He's awesome. I'm just saying, like in overall size, the Galaxy are not a tall team. We talked about it when we had Greg Vanney on the show, which was like, is it just because you guys are small? Like, are you a small team? Is that one of the reasons that we have all of these problems, right? And it's like, it was one of those where you sit there and go. No, I mean, there's lots of reasons, right? And so we'll see what they end up doing. I keep telling, and I think I said this after the San Jose game, I am convinced that the set piece thing will regress to the mean, which means the Galaxy won't give up as many goals set pieces. There's just been weird ones that I'm like, dude, that's just, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, it's just weird how people are scoring off some of these, and it's not horrible marking a lot of times. Sometimes it is. Like, I'm not saying however 12 goals the Galaxy, I forget how many it is from set pieces at this point. It's too many, right? But I can't remember. But like you could probably throw out 3 or 4 of those and feel a lot better about yourself because they're just wacky little stupid plays. And you're like, wow, that's really stupid. I don't know how that happens. Like that ball shouldn't bounce that direction. So
yeah. Do they have a, forgive me for my ignorance here, but do they have a set piece coach?
I don't think so. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that in particular.
They should get one.
That seems like an EPL thing, like throwing coaches, set piece coaches.
It's given us 17 goals.
I'm all for it.
The set piece coach changed everything.
Is it just all Ted Lasso's secret plays? Is that what it is? Eric, by the way, $5 super chat. Sophie, I have no idea what he's trying to say. He says. So he talks about your accent and played. I think Eric has been drinking. Really, $5 super chat, Eric. We appreciate it.
What does it say? Oh, let me have a look at here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sophie hot, especially accent played.
See, somebody has been is lag jetted. That's really what it is. You can tell where there's a whole bunch of people who are lag jetted in here.
Okay, we're all loopy together. Perfect.
Alex, by the way, $5 super chat. Do you think Ramon Sosa and Pablo Solari would have worked well with Ricky Puig? They were talking earlier. These are the 2 players that were rumored at one point to possibly be coming to the Galaxy with Sosa. Yeah, I think that they have a lot of the same qualities. And any chance the Galaxy makes second attempts at one of them in the summer for depth? No, absolutely not. I don't think so. I think the Galaxy will add a U22, and I think they're going to add a big TAM player, and I think that's going to be about it. I would like to remind everybody the summer transfer window might be less effective this year than it was in years past because with Leagues Cup. So? Leagues Cup is happening at the end of August, or excuse me, the beginning of August, and runs through basically the whole month of August, right? So when you get back from Leagues Cup, I think you have 7 games to play. That's it. 7 games and the season is over. So you're going to get somebody. And then the league is basically, because there's a lot more games front-loaded this year, there's less games that will be of consequence after everything opens up. I'm not saying there aren't games in July, so if you get somebody in early in July and all that fun stuff, there's 5 games in July for the LA Galaxy, but only 1 game in August, so that's 6 games that you will have somebody, and then there's going to be this big long break, and then 7 games. So 13 total games. To me, it feels like it's just not going to be as big of an impact this year. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. I mean, you have to put yourself in the place in contention, and then teams are going to get better in that summer transfer window. We know that. Again,
that's the time of the year now that you just pray everyone gets through that unscathed.
It'll just fingers crossed the whole time. It's like whenever the Galaxy used to play friendlies against other teams, and you were like, just no injuries. Don't care what the score is, just no injuries, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the All-Star game every year too, by the way. Executive producer Herb, $24 super chat. Hey Josh, hey Sophie, the podcast calming me down while watching the Lakers. I'm glad I do podcasts so I don't have to watch other sports and get stressed out about stuff anymore. Herb says,
you're a Laker fan.
I am a let's see. Yes, absolutely. If I'm going to have a basketball team, it's going to be the Lakers. I tend to not watch. I don't really watch any sports anymore except for the Galaxy because that's basically all the time I have to do it. So it's Galaxy and nothing. That's everything else. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of golf sometimes. I can watch that. Maybe some F1 every once in a while in the morning if I get up early and do some stuff, right?
Look at you.
So I'm not saying I'm a fan, but I'll catch it if it's on. I'll watch. Let's see what other things. Like NFL, I'll catch a game every once in a while, but it's not like I sit there and like live and breathe NFL football. I like hockey. I'll watch volleyball. There's not a sport really that I don't like. Tennis, sure, why not?
I mean, you're watching everything by the sounds of it, mate.
But it's nothing is like I'm just turning on ESPN.
You're not religiously.
I'm like, oh look, there's something. Well, I'll watch this.
Oh look, there's cornhole.
Yeah, exactly. I'll watch that. No problem. You know what? Back in the day in college, I could play some cornhole. I was pretty good out on the cornhole courts at Arizona State. We didn't have them. It was just the tailgate parking lot. But a little liquid courage and away you go. So much like golf. So we appreciate that, Herb. Thank you. Raphael, $5 super chat. Sunday's tailgating and game atmosphere from minute one were incredible this year. Feels so much different. It makes my soul happy. I have heard rumors the LA Galaxy are doing extremely good on ticket sales. And we had
I bet they are.
There were over 25,000 people, 300 something people at the game against San Jose. They are doing extremely well on tickets this year. So I've been told. So the atmospheres have been great. Do you know that atmosphere, Soph? And even like EPL, even in MLS, but you know that atmosphere whenever somebody takes a shot and they're like inside the box and it's a really big chance and you hear the whole crowd inhale first and then when they miss. That's what it was like that the whole game. And it was so much fun to listen to. I love that feeling where it's like everybody feels the tension and then, that was so close, and you can see the whole stadium freeze for a second and then move all together with it's soccer's so beautiful.
Yeah. The home games I went to before leaving, it's night and day. And it's so, I use the word joyous, but it really is great to see. And you feel the buzz before the game. The super chat is correct. There's a vibe, there's hype, there's an atmosphere. I'm sure they're probably doing well with merch sales as well.
I would imagine
this year.
I'm hearing so many good things on merch stuff that's coming up, by the way, too. I mean, listen, people tell me things I can't tell you guys, but I'm just telling you, I'm hearing good things. There's a lot of, for the vibes, there's a lot of positive vibes right now. There's a lot of positive, good feeling vibes. And that goes
time
from the top to the bottom. I mean, look at Greg Vanney. He's even got a little bit of a swagger whenever he comes into the press conference. They haven't played a Greg Vanney will be happy after the game yet. And I can't wait to see what that looks like. It was like he just sits there with his feet up on the table and his hands back. He's like, told you so. I told you. I'm waiting for the I told you so. I want to hear it. He won't do that.
Since the removal of Chris Klein and Chicharito, things have really looked up.
I mean,
sorry, was that a little harsh?
No, it wasn't at all. I think that there's people who make that all the time that have been saying that they should have moved on from Chris Klein a long time ago, right? And there was people who are like, we've been screaming it for years. You do, and now look where the LA Galaxy are. That's tied for first in the Western Conference. That's tied for the MLS Supporter Shield leaders right now. And the Galaxy have a chance because of the soft Western Conference, and I think it's soft. I don't think there's any teams right now that are great, and that includes the LA Galaxy. The Galaxy have a chance to run away with stuff if they want to. That means they can't have games like they just did. Let's get to this one, too. Is Jose gave us a really big one, $100 super chat from Jose. Woo, that's a big number. Thank you, Jose. We appreciate it. By the way, their first super chat on live stream. We are glad to have you, Jose. Longtime listener, first ever live show. And he comes in throwing the Benjamins.
He's dropping a massive one.
Yes, he is. Absolutely. 100%.
That is epic.
So Jose says, longtime listener, first ever live show. Thank you for all the work you do to keep us informed. Let's go Galaxy is Jose's absolute 100% awesome super chat there. So we appreciate that. So that means I can't tell you what it means. We are sort of talking about the LA Galaxy. We're talking about MLS. Where does MLS have the LA Galaxy? Let's talk about the power rankings right now. I told you I thought the West was soft. Well, the power rankings also say the West is soft. And I'm not sure I agree with all of them. I don't have a problem with Columbus being at number 1. I have more of a problem with Miami being number 2. I'm not buying Miami yet. Okay? I'm just not. I know I see the players who are there. I see how they play. They rely on moments of brilliance, which they have in spades, by the way. So, it's not a horrible thing to rely on, but they rely on that more than you really see some of these team games. Columbus is a team. New York Red Bulls right now are a team. I would not have Vancouver that high. I thought the Galaxy handled them pretty easily in all this, and to put them right underneath the Galaxy seems a little close for comfort for me. Philadelphia is still a sleeping giant for me. Cincinnati, I would have higher. Salt Lake is probably who I would have as the second best Western Conference team right now, and Chicho Arango is in there with MVP talks and all the fun stuff that you're seeing right there. Minnesota, and then rounding out number 10, LAFC. So that's where the Western Conference, look at that. There's not that many teams in the Western Conference. You're just, I don't know. It's feeling a little soft to me. It's feeling a little soft. So
Fourth is a little. Oh, I've gone dark again. I don't know what happened there. Is it all right? Is it okay?
It's fine with me. I don't mind. Fourth, low.
It's fourth is a little low. It is a little low. And the Inter Miami, the love fest, the desire. They desperately want Inter Miami to make the final.
You said, tell everybody what you said, what they really want. What do they really, what gets the ratings at the end of the year? Who's in MLS Cup and gets the ratings?
It's Inter Miami versus the 5-star LA Galaxy.
I mean,
that's the ticket.
That's Don Garber does wake up and think about that in the middle of the night. It's like, what if?
Every night.
Before he goes to bed, he does his little soccer prayers and he says, "Dear Lord, please give me," quite honestly, what he will say is, "Please give me one of the LA teams against Miami." That's what he really says. But we can say, if you want the history to be able to match sort of the storyline of Messi and friends coming in, I think the LA Galaxy is a better chance. But we're still a long way. Maya Yoshida told me we're a long way from talking about championships.
I've missed him. How is he?
He's excellent, as always, as you would expect.
Lovely. I think the better story is LA Galaxy, and Ricky going up against the Barcelona boys makes for a great story as well. And I think it will be the making of certain players. Get to the final, beat Messi, puts Paintsil out there in the media. It puts Peck out there. It puts Ricky out there. Who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. See, some of the chat agrees with me. They don't have Miami up that high. But again, some of these power rankings are very clearly going, well, they're going to get better. That's what the power rankings are saying, which, by the way, those aren't power rankings. That's not how that works. What are they doing now? How are they playing now? Those types of things. Some of these are clearly going, they're going to get better, and we know they are, so we're not going to put them too far low because we don't want to look like morons whenever they don't get better, or whenever they do get better, right?
Yeah.
So you could sort of see that. A little bit. Adams has a $2 super chat talking about referee on Saturday is Victor Rivas. I love Victor Rivas, by the way, so I think that's a great one. One is he's a really good referee. He usually is. Now, having said that, does anybody have a shocker? Absolutely, all the time. But you don't. For me, I like Rivas. I think he does a good job. So I think the Galaxy fans will be more happy than that. Remember that you're going at Austin, so there's going to be, as there usually is, a little bit of a bias to the referee towards the home team. So just remember that whenever you go in there, and I'm sure Galaxy fans will be complaining nonstop anyway. So thank you for that, Adam.
Josh, let's be honest. The refereeing has, after the first 5 games, we're in referee dreamland right now compared to how the season started.
I thought, except for the whole John Freeman experiment and that type of thing, once the real referees came back and you're like, wait, this guy? Because he had 2 shockers in a row in 2 games, in 2 weekends. So hasn't had the best thing on all that yet. So let's see. I wanted to get through that. Here's a big thing, too. We've been talking about the LA Galaxy in terms of goals scored and how many goals they're going to score and how many things they're going to do, right? Here is what MLS is certainly watching. Looking at the LA Galaxy teams with the most goals through the first 10 games. The 2024 LA Galaxy currently have 21 goals in 9 games. So should they score 3 goals against Austin or 10 goals against Austin, it would be a lot to score 10 goals, but they could try, right? If they were going to do that, the 10 goals are the 3 goals against Austin, it would tie them second place for the most goals by an LA Galaxy team through the first 10 games. And that was in 2016, 24 goals, 1996, 24 goals. 2008 was 22, 2004 was 22. So now you have 2024 with 21 goals in 9 games played. We did talk about 1998, and that is the one that we have sort of been focusing on for this LA Galaxy team, and mostly because when you look at this LA Galaxy team, the Galaxy have completed so far in their season 9 of 34 games is 26% of the season. All right, we're going to do a little math. It's okay. I'll walk you through it. We're not going to ask you to compute anything. I just want you to absorb it. 26% of the games so far. 9 games out of 34 games. 26%. In 2023, the Galaxy scored a total of 51 goals. Right. Through the 9 games, as we just talked about in 2024, they have scored 21 goals. Okay, so 51 goals total in 2023, 21 goals total in 2024 through the first 9 games. That means that the Galaxy have scored 41% of their 2023 total in just 26% of the games, right? So if we're looking at that, that to me shows you just how far ahead the LA Galaxy are this year from a Galaxy side that actually scored a decent amount of goals last year. It wasn't the best in the world, but it was an average. If you look at the average for the LA Galaxy over their entirety as a club, it's almost 50 goals. 49.5 goals is the average number of goals per year that the LA Galaxy score, and they scored 51 last year. Right now, they have 21. They're on pace, as we've talked about before, to score 80 goals right now. 79.3. 79.3. We go back and look, how many teams have scored 80 goals? Well, that would be just one, the 1998 LA Galaxy with 85 goals. If you notice my tweet, I put 83, but it's 85. 85 goals in 1998. The only other team in Major League Soccer history to have tied that is LAFC just a couple years ago. They had 85. So the LA Galaxy approaching near that 80 goal mark could actually chase that 85 record. Perhaps. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know. The problem with hot starts like this, Soph, and I think it's our job is sort of looking and analyzing the team is it sustainable? Have you seen the LA Galaxy scoring goals and you're going, man, that's just not sustainable? Or are you watching the LA Galaxy scoring goals right now and saying, man, they probably could have scored more goals? Like, what are your eyes telling you?
I think the latter. My eyes tell me that, the San Jose game, they should have been up. 5. They should have won that game 5 or 6-0. I think they've been. Paintsill and Peck have had to settle in. Peck, of course, missing the weekend where he got married. The kind of the synchronicity between that front line takes time, right? And if they're scoring like this now, as the season continues and evolves, and this team evolves, and those partnerships and units become stronger, and they play more together, I think that they're going to become more prolific in front of goal. I especially think that Peck and Paintsill, they're just first season, they're settling into the league. If I can be exceptionally honest, Ricky just needs to find better passes sometimes. Yes. As good as he is, there's times he's so wasteful with the ball and careless with the ball.
You can see it. You can see it on Vanney's face. Sometimes Vanney will throw up his hand in the middle, like, nuts. I saw it right there. He was like, and a lot of times, like Vanney will turn back to the bench, and then the bench goes like this, like they're like, yeah, he should have passed it. Like everybody sees it. We see it from up top too. You're like, you had a runner. Paintsill was wide open on the right hand side. Instead, you tried to thread it through 6 guys to get to Peck, which would have been awesome because nobody was expecting it, but also nobody was expecting it because it was covered. So maybe just hand it to Joseph and let him run through some guys.
Exactly. And every now and again, he just holds onto the ball too long. He tries to be the hero too much. I think if Ricky can fix those parts of his game too, that's what's going to add even more goals to that front line. So,
by the way,
Dayan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but with Ricky, just don't give him 3, 4, 5 of those looks where he tries to thread it through people like every game. Don't cut that out completely because one of those is going to pull off and you're going to be like, holy crap, look at that pass. And you need that from him. You want that creativity from him. You don't want to stifle that, but you want him to make smarter decisions sometimes. And I think Greg Vanney wants that. I think Ricky Puig, it would benefit him as well in his career to be a little bit smarter with some of the passes he makes. So, yes.
Do you know what it is as well with him is that he's one of those players that is he believes he can make any pass. And there's a lot to love about that, right?
Yep.
To have that type of confidence. When it doesn't come off, you can see him. He's got a bit of the Zlatan in him. He does the moan, and he's very
demonstrative.
He shows his frustration.
Yes.
He's very demonstrative. Thank you very much for jumping in on that one. So that's the part of the football artist that he is. He always seeks perfection because he believes he can make any pass.
Right.
But sometimes it doesn't come off, and when he pulls players because he's so talented and those spaces open up, just release the ball a little bit quicker sometimes in those moments.
Yeah, it'll be good. You were talking about Dejan Joveljic as well, who I thought probably had his best game this year against San Jose with how much he was involved in the build. But people are like, everybody's like, got to get rid of Dejan. I'm like, the dude is in the golden boot race right now. Just chill out. Let him, the king of tap-ins, let him tap it in all day long. And by the way, his build-up play and what he did against San Jose, if he pulls that off for the rest of the year.
Listen, when you can get a wonder goal from Peck or Pooch, and if you can get goals from Paintsil, you need a fox in the box. And Dejan is, there's going to be a lot of times it'll come off the post, it will come off the goalkeeper. His positionally, he's a 6 and 8 yard box player.
Yep.
But we've also seen him score some bangers. Let's be fair here. I'm shocked that after having to wait and be patient behind Chicharito, that he's got his moment now. He's scoring goals, and there are fans that are questioning him. It's ridiculous.
There's always fans who are like, "Hey, play that backup quarterback I've never seen play a snap too in the NFL." So it's very much like I want something else. Like
what? Olivier Giroud?
I mean, I don't think that's happening.
Maybe. No, I mean he's going to LAFC, isn't he?
Yes.
So
yeah, but they keep confusing him with coming to the LA Galaxy. By the way, so just I've seen it like 3 or 4 times. I always enjoyed that part. So
I'd rather Dejan at this point, to be honest, because look, Giroud's a great player and he's great in the air. Ball to feet, he's good, but with the speed, trust me, I watched him play for many years and he was younger then. He doesn't have the speed. He's an intelligence player and he's a positional player. For this particular team, he doesn't fit as well as Dejan does. Right. Just my humble opinion.
I'm ready to see Dejan have a 2 or 3 goal game. I think it's coming because he can find himself in some really good spots, and I like the build-up play. One other stat I wanted to get to from everybody's favorite LA Galaxy hype man, Mr. Kevin Acevedo. Joseph Paintsil notched 1 goal and 1 assist in the 4-3 win versus San Jose on April 21st. It marked the 3rd time this season that Joski has notched at least 1 goal and 1 assist, which ranks tied for 2nd in MLS with Evander, behind only Lionel Messi, who has 4. So Joseph Paintsil right on that Messi tail there. All right. Eastern Conference standings, we talked about it. Miami up there at 18 points. New York at 16, Cincinnati at 15. You can look all the way down. New England bringing up the bottom of that one right now. Nashville just above them, which is kind of a surprise. I'm looking at Orlando being down at the bottom, which I didn't expect. Charlotte, I think, is going to be a team that climbs the table this year as well, so keep an eye on them. So Eastern Conference standings, pretty interesting. Western Conference for me, so LA Galaxy, Vancouver, Salt Lake, Colorado, Minnesota, Houston, LAFC, Austin. Austin, 12 points. LA Galaxy, 18 points. Just 6 points separate Austin, who's in 8th, with the LA Galaxy, who's in 1st. So no separation, really, outside of the 2 points the LA Galaxy have over Vancouver, but Vancouver has played 1 less game. So keep that in mind whenever you watch that as well. And both of those teams at 2.0 points per game. So very even in terms of how they're playing right now, LA and Vancouver. I'm just waiting for Vancouver to slide down. I think they're going to slide. I think it's coming. I think it's going to happen. Yeah.
I think when you look at San Jose's points and stuff, that is just makes it. I hope that was a wake up call.
You know what? I've watched. I told you that they played Austin 4-3 as well, right? Because I was watching that game. They've had a lot of games where they have been in. I think that at one point and. They didn't have any against the Galaxy, but they were the team that had given up the most points from winning positions. They had 12 points they had given up from winning positions. So they have been in the lead so many times and haven't been able to close the deal at all. So as much as we look at their record and say it's horrible, absolutely. They have, with a little bit more quality to them, they could have a ton more points than they do.
They played better than what their league position says.
Yeah, but they're still they're still bad. Let's be very clear. They're not a good team, right? Yeah.
They're not a good team, but they played above their station. I think RSL's the biggest threat to LA Galaxy. And
right now,
it
takes me back to 2009.
As the season goes, I think.
Yeah, we talked about it on a Monday show, Alex, and I was like 2009, 2010, RSL, LA Galaxy, Western Conference, battling it out, playoffs, Western Conference Finals, all the fun stuff. MLS Cup 2009, by the way, up in Seattle. I was at that game. So anyway, there's just there's a lot there still to sort of pay attention to whenever we look at it. All the games coming up this weekend. The LA Galaxy again kicking off at 1:45 p.m. Eastern time, which is 10:45 a.m. Pacific Coast time. So be prepared for that one. Free on Apple TV. Game also on Fox. So you can watch that anywhere you can find it. But again, a 10:45 start time. I believe 10:55 kickoff time is where we will be on all that fun stuff. So pay attention to that as that goes.
What's that about, Josh?
Why is it so early? I don't know.
It's like an NFL game.
I know. It's like I said.
International? Is it for international television? Is it?
I don't think so. I think it should probably just to fit the Fox window. Quite honestly, they could have had an early Fox window, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna take it there," because nobody else plays until 7:30 Eastern time, which is 4:30, West Coast time. So there's a long time between games whenever the LA Galaxy are done. But the good news is all eyes on the LA Galaxy, I guess, to be able to watch that game. Galaxy trying to do something they have not done under Greg Vanney, Sophie. Win three games in a row. 3 games in a row. Greg Vanney has never won 3 games in a row with the LA Galaxy. I have the stats to back it up. 2 games in 2021, 2 games in 2022, 2 games in 2023, and so far in 24, 2 games is the best they had. Now, as we transition over to this game, and we've already started talking about it, I will tell you, do not expect Austin to be a rollover in this. As a matter of fact, they're unbeaten in their last 4 games at home, and they have won their last 2 games at home. So this is a team that is growing into the season. I think Greg Vanney was talking today a little bit about Sebastian Giroussi coming back and sort of what he's been able to do for them. Obrion on the left-hand side, a lot of speed, some quality there. Ethan Finley, Diego Rubio, Alexander Ring in the center there. You had Brad Stuver at the back, Matt Hedges in the defense. I mean, there are some names here that should really pop out. The one thing I will certainly point out, also, Jossie Zardes is on this team, right? So you can't forget that. Hector Jimenez, former LA Galaxy player, on this team. The one storyline that obviously everybody will be watching, Sophie, is that Diego Fagundes is going back to Austin to play against Austin. And we always talk about this. I think he loves the people of Austin. I think he loves the fans. I don't think he loves management. So it will be interesting to see if he plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And Greg Vanney was highly complimentary of Diego Fagundes whenever he came in to play and helped close out the game. He had a turn into the corner that was very good and wasted some time. Julian Aude, I think, had a really good stop on defense that basically killed the entire game off. Whenever there was about a minute left, he was able to steal the ball. So just trying to, as Greg Vanney called it, I was going to play some audio from it, but we've sort of been recapping it as we've been going away. But he called it, at some point you go to the corner and it's a business decision. You've chosen to win this soccer game. It's like, we don't need to score another goal. We need to play the clock out. So turning into the corner and doing that. But he was also saying it depends on the situation. It depends on how many numbers you have. It depends on what the situation is in terms of where the players are and the likelihood that you really think you're going to score. Another goal does put the game away. So that also helps. Sometimes running into the corner is the wrong thing to do. Sometimes running in the corner is the right thing to do. It's position. It's very much situationally dependent. So
exactly. You just got to be smart about it. Make good decisions.
I think Greg Vanney has been praying the LA Galaxy will do that for many, many times. Galaxy announcers, as Adam said with his super chat, $5 super chat, Galaxy announcers for Saturday's games are Steve Cangliosi and Danny Higginbotham.
I like Danny.
I like Steve. I mean, if you heard Steve and Joe Tutino do some stuff, I think at the beginning of the preseason at Coachella, you're certainly there. And then Adam with the $2 super chat. Any update on Ricky's contract extension? We don't know any details. Neither does The Athletic, or they would have published it because they were the one who said that he got a new contract. I think I've told you I expected that Ricky was going to make about $3 million this year. I believe with all the escalators that were in his contracts to sort of get him to that, which is why he's a full designated player this year and all that stuff. I'm guessing maybe 4.5 $4 to $4.5 million a year is maybe the new contract, and it probably tacks on another couple years, and there's probably escalators that increase that every year as well. So I think it locks him in for a little bit longer, but they haven't really said. So I think his contract was up in 2025. Was whenever his contract was up. This is, as we talked about on Monday night, this is we're going to keep Ricky Puig and sell him for money whenever it's time to get rid of him contract, right? So
Yeah. It's that contract, 100%. Yeah.
So Galaxy,
by the way, drinks on Ricky.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The guy's I think he's gonna be well compensated. I think it's gonna be a good number. So, and that's just a guess. I haven't heard anything, by the way. So again, the LA Galaxy and Austin. I was trying to watch some of these games and sort of be like, what are these teams doing and how are they doing it? And whenever I look at Austin, Sophie, I see a team that even at home against San Jose was more of a countering team, a transitional team. They got into a track meet with San Jose, just like the LA Galaxy got into a track meet with San Jose. I watched them play against Houston, where they were the away team, and I expect that they're a little more conservative whenever they're away, and it seems that is the case. They were very much more sit back and then counter, but still a counterattacking team. And they basically did nothing for almost 80-something minutes, and then got one goal kick straight up the middle with a little head-on flicker, and all of a sudden they're winning 1-0, and they won that game 1-0. I think Houston had a 1.6 expected goals, and I think Austin ended up with like a 0.8 or something, so half basically chances. And by the way, I watched the highlights from that. There were not a lot of highlights of Austin being offensive in that game. So I expect that they're going to be
Come
more.
on, they should win. They should win this game. If you want to win the title, you've got to win these kinds of away games even as well. Can I ask you a very quick question?
Yes.
About the letting in 3 goals at home, by the way. Is it a case of, was it the choice of Cerrillo? We talked about it at the top of the show, but I wanted to just dig a little deeper here. Is it the left back, right back situation? Or do you think there were too many gaps in that game between the midfield and the back line? Because I do think sometimes when Ricky's cheap with the ball, it exposes the midfield, and then things happen very quickly, and then the space is a little bit too wide, and that exposes then the back line. Can you just tell me real quick what you saw on that? Do you think there is an issue between the spaces between the midfield and the back line?
Yes, but not normally, right? It's in certain situations, and I certainly think it's more about rest defense, right? And Greg likes to talking about resting on defense and what happens when you're resting on defense. The Galaxy sometimes make really poor choices in the times they choose to rest on defense. And you can rest on defense. If you get back into your low block, you're set, you have your spacing correct, there's not the gaps that you're talking about. If you are positionally sound, you can rest on defense, right? Which is, okay, now we're here. Let's sort of let them pass the ball around a little bit. We'll catch our breath, and then we can start putting a little pressure on the ball player, that type of thing. I think when the Galaxy choose to rest, like on set pieces, the Galaxy tend to lose a little bit of intensity on set pieces. The Galaxy are very prone to giving up a goal right after they score. And again, it's the letting up a little bit on the intensity and not paying attention to where they're going. Cerrillo was Cerrillo, and I don't blame him for being in the position that he was. I don't think he was positionally naive in any way. It's just that's not his position, and I don't expect him to play it perfectly, right? And he wasn't being asked to play it perfectly. Let's be very clear. He was asked to fill in the spot and sort of make do with what he did. If you're Maya Yoshida, you need to help him out probably a little more than you did on some of those set pieces and things like that. But he's a small dude going up against tall guys. It's just never going to work. It's like whenever Diego Fagundes tried to stop. Who was it that scored for Vancouver? I think it was Brian White, right? Fagundes runs over and tries to guard. It wasn't Fagundes' guy, but he ends up having to go chase him because somebody didn't mark him. Well, Fagundes is this tall and Brian White's this tall. That's going to be It doesn't. I don't care how high you can jump. A lot of times you're not going to make up the height difference on some of those things. So positionally, a problem sometimes. I will say in the San Jose game, and I think Vanney touched on this, it was being smarter with what you were trying to do. At 3-0, you don't need to score another goal, right? And he even says it, if you listen to him at halftime, because they had the halftime speech, he was like, we have to be smarter. We have to be better than the last 10 minutes that we just played. He goes...
As well. Ball possession smarts as well, yeah.
This team can outpossess most teams, and they can tear people apart, and they can be plodding and patient and they could take all the fun out of these games, right? They could take the fun out of the San Jose game. They could be up 3-0, and then they could just pass it around them for the next 20, 30 minutes. By the way, they're probably going to get some good looks on goal when they're doing that as well, because they can play that way. So why not play that way? There has to be a team unselfishness. I like the killer mentality that they have, which is this team seems to rarely take their foot off the accelerator, which is nice. Even though we look at a game that ends up 4-3, whenever it was 3-0, some people would say, oh, as the Galaxy took their foot off the accelerator. I would disagree and say the Galaxy were maybe too aggressive in the positions that they were and left themselves open in certain times. Just
you used a word there that's I love the word plodding. Yeah.
I don't want it to sound boring, but it's
no,
for a purpose.
It's not.
It's for a purpose.
It is. I used to go to this pool at lunchtime to work out, just for a swim, and there'd be a lane of plodders, joggers, sprinters. And of course, you'd see all the people who would go in the sprint lane, and really they should be in the plodding lane. There's no business being in the sprint lane.
We need this on our freeways. Clearly, there's the plodders, the joggers, and the sprinters, right?
Yes, we do.
So anyway, no, I just think it's this game is going to be much more difficult for the Galaxy than I think people are going to give it. You are, I think, taking the line that a lot of Galaxy fans are, which is, hey, if you're going to win a championship, then you go on the road and you win this game. I will say that road games in Major League Soccer, I think, are harder to win than those in the EPL in a lot of ways. And the only reason I say that is because the travel's usually longer, right? There's a lot of other things. They're going to go across 2 time zones. Their body clock is, they're going to play a game at 10:45 a.m. on their body clock. Miss lag jetted.
Yeah,
right?
like lag jetted. You remember Maya? I mean, bless him. He looks exhausted after games, by the way. And then when he realizes the next game's an away game, he's like, oh no, we got to try.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's so a thing.
Yeah,
so,
Steven Gerrard hated it. He couldn't cope. He really couldn't.
No, he couldn't. And that was still when they were flying coach, too. Now it's a little better than being they're flying charters and all that. So, I mean, it's better. It's certainly better. It's 100 times better than it was. It's just you're going into an Austin team that has been motivated at home recently. They're a decent team. I'm not going to say they're good. They've gotten better. They've figured some things out. Greg Vanney was very cautious about playing them and sort of said, if we're not careful with how we possess the ball, and I'm paraphrasing, they can tear us apart. They can spread us out. They can catch us in transitions. And that's really where the Galaxy, I think, have struggled for a while, is in that transitional defense. And you talk about it, giving the ball away cheaply in poor positions and putting your defense in positions where they have to defend, odd man rushes and other things. That's where you're going to find this team. So,
and their crowd can really ignite the team just when you think things, and LA Galaxy have got a target on their back again. Teams are going to want to beat them. Yeah. And that's something else they have to cope with. It's a different beast this season.
With predictions guaranteed to be wrong, Miss Soph, what do you have of the score for this game?
4-2.
4-2 LA Galaxy. I mean, the offense, that's the whole thing. You can count on this offense to score goals.
Yeah, and we'll leak goals too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I still actually think the open play defense and what they're doing has been good. They have to figure the set piece thing out, but I'm also waiting for that to sort of like fade a little bit. I think it's been a little... I don't know what the underlying numbers think, but at this point, you look at the numbers and you're sort of like, okay, that can't stay that way for the whole season. Maybe it can. Maybe I'm being way too rose-colored glasses on the set-piece defense. I don't think there's major issues or mistakes that are being made. I think they're little tiny things, and I think that in a lot of ways the bounces have definitely gone against the Galaxy in those situations.
I have an idea.
Yes.
You call Will, tell Will
that
I said that Greg needs a set-piece coach.
Okay, we'll get
Will
right on that.
Will can go out. Yeah, get on that.
Okay,
and watch the goals come from set pieces.
Oh yeah. Well,
because Greg is really smart. Now he's got his team more in his image.
Yep.
He's a thinker, and set pieces can be an X factor in football big time. How you set up, how you whether it's going to be a short pass, on the edge of the box, corners sometimes are so basic. You talk about not having the height.
Right.
He's got the intelligence to work with somebody to make that an X factor in this side. I truly believe that.
I think that getting Yamane back will be big. I think that if Caceres can play, that will be big because I think that he really adds a good big presence there. He's not a tall guy, but he's a big guy, and you want him in there. Mayashida has a big body in there. If Jalen Neal gets some time in this, I'm really interested to see if Jalen Neal gets any time. I think that's one of the things I'm watching. I think this is going to be one of those goofy games where it's like 2-2 or something like that. It's going to be a stupid game. There's going to be stupidity. Things are going to go weird. I actually would love to see the LA Galaxy just come out here and play a really boring, like 2-1 game, 2-0 game. But I think it's going to be 2-2. That's what I have.
Do you honestly think? Sorry, Big Ben was chiming in the background there.
Yes.
Just a little reminder of where we come from. Do you really believe that this LA Galaxy team can play a boring game?
Oh, I think that they have the genes to do it. Like it's in their DNA to do it. We've seen boring games under Greg Vanney in terms of how they could do it. But give me that 1-0 win, and Greg Vanney gets to throw his feet up on the desk and be like, "That's my team right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they play." Or quite honestly, with this team, it's going to be like 4-0, and he's going to be like, "That's my team." Then put the feet up on the desk, and you'd be like, "I told you." Like the defense got it right. Everything started from a defensively sound position. That's where he's going to get excited. That's when he's going to be like, "I think this is the ceiling for this team." We talked about it whenever he was on the show, and he was talking about passing and just the pace at which they can pass and everything like that. And we saw that in the first 30 minutes against San Jose, which is why it sort of looms so large and everything. So I want to see that for 45 minutes. I want to see that for 60 minutes. I want to see that for 75 or 90 minutes. Make it so that way the other team doesn't touch the ball in the last 5 minutes and they never even get a chance to tie a game or score a goal. Or, as I say, whenever the Galaxy are up 2-0, they're only 2 set pieces away from being a tie game. So, it's like eliminate those things. That way it's just never a thought in your mind that the Galaxy are going to lose a game.
I think that's going to come as the season goes. I think that's a maturation issue because there's a lot of gung-ho in this team. And when I asked you the question about can they play boring and you said you've seen that, I think you've seen it because they didn't really have control over that. They didn't have the right players. They weren't, cohesive enough or able to do that. And I think as the season goes, you might see that a little bit more. I think right now they're in the bit of the gung-ho phase.
Right.
And that's something that maybe we'll see changes as the games go.
Two predictions for the Austin game. One is I think Gaston Bergman's going to have another really big game. And I also think that Mark Delgado is going to have a big game. The surprise will be that whenever Diego Fagundes comes off the bench, he's going to score. So that's going to be the fun
100%.
part. Yeah, 100% locked in on that one. So those are
that's
sort
how
of
football works.
Yeah, chat room's asking for updates on Garces and whether or not he's coming in. I heard he was supposed to be in this week. Listen, there was let's see, how can I say this? I think there were multiple visa appointments. I think that it wasn't just one, but there were 2, and some countries require that. And that's what sort of slowed everything down. So I thought he was going to get here this week, and maybe he still does. Maybe he shows up tomorrow, that type of thing. But I'm hoping that we will get actual confirmation of his arrival whenever he shows up, next week and is actually training with the team and all that fun stuff. So he's going to be a big addition to this. 6'1",
it's a big deal.
Colombian, one of the fastest defenders in all of Colombia. So
there you go. That's
that
a tall guy.
To me, it's like you get a tall guy who's also the fast guy. It reminds me of like if AJ De La Garza and Omar Gonzalez morphed together into one player, you'd have the speed and the intelligence on a lot of stuff. So that's what I'm waiting to see Garces on this and sort of see how he fits in and how Greg Vanney uses him. Is he going to be an everyday starter? Is it, there's lots of questions about that we don't have answers to. Down the road next year, is it, instead of Maya Yoshida and Martin Caceres, is it going to be Jalen Neal and now Garces out there? It's like, oh, okay. Well, let's see. Are we seeing the future here with Garces? So that's it. That's all I have for tonight. I'm interested in this game. I think it's gonna be a good one. I'm not gonna have coverage for it on the Twitter account, so don't look for me on there, and I won't be in the post game either. I have some family stuff I'm gonna be doing. So at 10:45 a.m., who would have thought that you would have to worrying about a soccer game at 10:45 a.m. But I will try to watch it while I'm doing all that, so I can of course update everybody on a Monday night. But
one eye on the game.
Always. It's on the watch. It's on the phone. Somebody will call me or text me. I'm sure there will be lots of things to get to. So, if anything else you want to talk about, we good?
No. Do you want to kind of honor the super chat and try a couple of those accents real quick?
Okay.
Or
Let's see. I don't know.
which one? What were they?
Do you want to get canceled? That's really what. Are we allowed to do accents anymore? Sometimes I wonder about these things.
Get cancelled?
yeah.
You mean on the YouTube algorithm?
Yeah. No, I don't care about that. All right. Aaron asked. Let's see. I'm gonna pick the ones that I want.
Okay.
A Southern Belle, Sophie Nicolaou.
Southern Belle, Sophie Nicolaou. Okay, let's try this. God, I should try and do a line from a movie.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say the word rhymes with C? Am I allowed to say that word?
I don't think so. I'm scared. I don't know what it is, and if I don't know what it is, then the answer is no.
I bet your husband's such a gentleman. He takes the dishes out of the sink before he in it.
All right. Nice. Yes. There you go. Wonderful. The other one, Valley Girl. You've been here long enough. Can you like give me like a good Valley Girl like?
Listen, I went down to the store and I saw this dress and I loved it, and I got these stilettos and they were just fantastic. Now I'm morphing the two.
That's
into
what I do.
each
Anytime
other.
I start to do anything, it turns Scottish. So
Yeah.
I 100%. All right, that's it.
I just can't stand how often people say the word like. Like I went there and I came back and I had a hamburger and it was great and he kissed me.
My God. Sorry.
Janice. That reminds me of Janice.
Oh, that used to be. Oh my God, the Josh accent.
God.
Can you do a good impression of me? The chat room wants
Can
it.
you do a good impression of me? Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, right here, cornerofthegalaxy.com.
I don't know if I should be laughing or crying. I mean, 100%. I give it 5 stars. Definitely something everybody should try at least once. All right, we're done. That's it. We're pulling the plug. Thanks everybody for hanging out. So tell people, okay, are you good? Can tell everybody where they can find you. Let's get moving on.
You can find me. Find me at Highbury Squad Kids on YouTube. Come say hi, and at Soccer Diva on the old X.
All
which
right.
is still weird to say out loud.
I know. I don't like saying it. I say X and Twitter. Yeah. If you're looking for me on X or Twitter, it's at Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Over our YouTube channels where you can find us. Look at all of the podcast stations, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I should do a Sophie impression. I'll have to practice it before we do it. All right.
Okay.
Everybody have a wonderful time this weekend. The LA Galaxy taking on Austin FC this weekend. 10:45 a.m. is your TV start time on MLS Season Pass and Fox free on MLS. All right. That does it for Miss Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou. I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.